Not all mistakes remain in the past. Some transcend generations, shape destinies, and carry consequences that echo throughout history. The sin of Ham, the son of Noah, is one such case. What seemed like a simple act of mockery turned into a generational curse, affecting his descendants for centuries. But why did this happen? Did Noah overreact in his response? And more importantly, what can this story teach us today? The Bible is filled with valuable lessons, and this narrative, recorded in Genesis, challenges us to reflect on respect, justice, and the impact of our choices. Ham was not just a disrespectful son, his actions revealed something much deeper about human nature and the consequences of sin. While his brothers, Shem and Japheth, demonstrated obedience and honor, he chose the path of mockery, and that decision came with a heavy price. What if I told you that this story is directly related to the power of words, generational curses, and even the divine plan of redemption through Jesus Christ? That's right. What happened in this episode goes far beyond a family dispute. It is about a divine principle that continues to influence lives and legacies today. Throughout this study, we will explore every aspect of this event from the historical context to the lessons we can apply today. We will understand how Noah, a righteous man, had a moment of weakness, how Ham reacted wrongly, and what this curse represented for future generations. Ham, one of Noah's sons, made a mistake that would resonate for generations. After the flood, Noah, in a moment of rest, drank wine and became drunk. In that condition, he lay exposed inside his tent. Ham saw his father's nakedness and, instead of responding with respect, mocked the situation. This act of dishonor brought severe consequences to his descendants, as respect for parents was a fundamental principle within divine commandments and cultural values. Ham's mockery was not just a careless mistake, but an act of disrespect that demonstrated a heart distant from justice and honor. The Bible does not detail his words, but makes clear that his attitude was condemnable. Unlike his brothers, Shem and Japheth, who covered Noah's nakedness without looking at him, Ham chose to expose his father's shame. This action revealed his lack of reverence, something God does not overlook. This episode teaches us about the seriousness of our actions and words. Small gestures can have a generational impact, for either blessing or curse. When Noah woke up and learned what had happened, he pronounced a curse upon Canaan, Ham's son. But why Canaan and not Ham himself? There are many debates about this, but the central point is that the Bible emphasizes spiritual inheritance and the consequences of sin within families. Ham's attitude can be compared to many situations today where disrespect and irreverence are normalized. How often do people expose others' mistakes without considering the consequences? The power of words and actions can build or destroy a lineage. Ham's mockery cost not only him, but his entire lineage. This leads us to reflect, how do we deal with others' weaknesses? This episode also points to a profound spiritual principle. Sin can transcend generations when there is no repentance and change. Noah, a righteous man chosen by God, was not exempt from failures. However, his sons' responses determined the legacy they left. This story warns us about how we react to others' imperfections and the kind of legacy we want to build. If even a man like Noah had a moment of weakness, what about us? The central issue is not about avoiding human failures, but learning how to deal with them correctly. Now that we understand the gravity of Ham's attitude, the next question is, what was the context in which this occurred? How does Noah's drunkenness fit into this narrative? Noah was not an ordinary man. He was chosen by God to survive the flood and continue humanity's existence. His story is a testimony of unwavering faith and obedience. Noah spent years building the ark amid the disbelief of those around him. He lived in a corrupt world, but remained righteous before the Lord. After the flood, he and his family became the only inhabitants of the earth, entrusted with repopulating and restoring creation. After his great mission of saving his family and the animals, Noah planted a vineyard. This decision was not random, as agriculture was part of the world's reconstruction after the destruction. However, An unexpected detail changed the narrative. Noah, after drinking the wine he produced, became drunk. This moment of weakness brought a turning point in his story, exposing his vulnerability before his own family. Noah's drunkenness raises an important question. Even the most righteous can stumble. Noah, who had remained firm when the entire world collapsed, now found himself in a state of weakness and shame. This episode teaches us that no one is exempt from difficult moments. However, the central issue of the story was not the drunkenness itself, but how his family responded to it, especially Ham. The contrast between Noah's sons is key to the narrative. Shem and Japheth demonstrated respect and protected their father's dignity. In contrast, Ham exposed his father's nakedness. This detail is fundamental in understanding the weight of the curse that followed. Respect for parents has always been an essential principle in Hebrew culture, and Ham's actions broke this sacred tradition. Another relevant aspect is the symbolism of this event. Noah represented a new beginning for humanity, just as Adam did in Eden. However, both faced a moment of fragility that brought consequences for their descendants. This parallel reinforces the idea that sin and its consequences can repeat across generations when there is no vigilance and genuine repentance. Given this context, a crucial question arises: why did Noah react so harshly to Ham's actions? Was the curse he pronounced merely an act of indignation, or was there something deeper behind it? The story of Noah and Ham teaches us a valuable lesson about respect and honor. When Shem and Japheth covered their father's nakedness without looking at him, they demonstrated reverence and care. They understood that a momentary mistake should not define Noah, a righteous man before God. Ham, on the other hand, chose to expose his father's failure, revealing a heart more inclined to mockery than to compassion. This contrast in attitudes makes us reflect on how we handle others' mistakes. Do we choose to protect the dignity of those around us, or are we quick to expose their weaknesses? In a world where social media amplifies human failures, are we more like Ham or like Shem and Japheth? The way we react to others' imperfections says a lot about our character. Moreover, the passage highlights the power of words. Ham's mockery had a generational impact because his disrespect was not just a personal offense, but a violation of divine principles. Often, we ignore the weight of our words and how they can influence others' lives. The Bible clearly states that both blessings and curses can be passed down. However, this curse was not irreversible. The Bible also shows that God always offers paths to redemption. No lineage is condemned forever, as the power of divine grace can transform any story. Canaan's descendants suffered the consequences of Ham's sin, but that did not mean they were doomed to eternal failure. God always provides an opportunity for change for those who choose to follow his ways. The good news is that Jesus Christ came to break generational curses. Galatians 3:13 tells us, Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us. This means that no inherited burden is greater than the redemption offered by Christ. Ultimately, the story of Noah, Ham, and Canaan teaches us that our choices affect not only our lives, but also future generations. However, through faith in Jesus, we can rewrite our story, break negative cycles, and build a legacy of honor and blessing. If this content resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep following our videos. Here, we are committed to bringing teachings that transform lives and draw us closer to God's purpose. Share this knowledge with someone who needs to hear this message and help spread this truth.